Hello, I'm Christie and welcome to our webinar, The 6 Keys to Really Reigniting Your Passion in Life. And I hope you don't mind, I'm going to keep my window open, so you might see some flies coming in and things like that, because it's just such a beautiful, beautiful spring slash almost feels like summer day today. And that's what I'm feeling a little passionate about. So for this, it's going to be in classroom-like format, which means there's no interaction, and when you're popping on, you can go down below and look at the chat, and if you're popping on live, you can go in the chat and say hi if you want. But for the most part, you are invited to just sit back and listen, and maybe grab a glass of vino, like I have on this beautiful Sunday evening. And sit back and listen and have a notepad, something you can take some notes on, because tonight I'm going to be sharing with you the 6 keys to living a life that really feels filled with your passions. And when you are filled and living a life where you are just totally filled with your passions, and you're working and you're playing in passion-filled ways, it really leads to much greater happiness, better relationships, and a more fulfilling life. So welcome and enjoy. And I want to share with you my slideshow, so I'm going to switch to share screen pretty soon. And this is available to use to help illustrate some of the points I'm making tonight, and to just take notes. I haven't done a webinar for a really long time. I think the last one is Ann and I did one a short while ago, maybe like a year ago. And so this is it. You have me to yourself this evening, and I'm really feeling filled with passion. So I hope you enjoy everything that we're going to be learning today around kind of the 6 secret keys to reignite. Do you see that bug just, I don't care, because it's so beautiful out, and I'm going to leave my window open. So I want to share my screen with you, and thank you for your patience as I get us started here. And this is the topic for the night. So the 6 keys to reignite your passions. And again, I'm Christie with Hot Pink University, and I invite you to stay all the way to the end. This is going to be maybe a 30 to 40 minute kind of virtual classroom, so to speak. And when you stay to the end, one is it's just going to be jam-packed with some information that I know is going to be really helpful if you're feeling the need to really reignite some passion in your life. The other is I have a special offer to any kind of ongoing work that you'd want to do with myself or with Hot Pink University, and I want to save that till the end. And then the third one is, not only are you going to get 6 keys, but I'm actually going to share a bonus 2 keys, and they're pretty hot and juicy. I've shared them till the end, so stay all the way to the end, and I think it's going to be well worth your time. So I want you to consider this. When I was co-authoring the book Ignite Your Life with Ann, and through Hot Pink University, we were really looking at what is important in life. And we had the 3 P's at the time: passion, feeling on purpose in life, and play. And I would also add in there pleasure. You know, the 4 P's really about what is a really hot, steamy life that really leads you to living your best life and fulfilling your greatest desires. And passion is so big, because what passion is I have it equal to alchemy. And what alchemy is long ago, when scientists, in medieval times, were trying to turn lead into gold using fire, that was called alchemy. And I love that vision of lead into gold. Lead, something that is yucky and not good for you, and actually can make you ill, turning it into something that's gold, And that's really what passion can do in life, is it can take a dull, kind of toxic life that you might be living, or a life where you're just feeling disconnected and unplugged. And what infiltrating some of your passions into it can do is it can really light that fire and create this beautiful, brilliant, coveted, right? We covet gold in our lives. And so that's what passion can really be for you when you start pursuing your passions and you start really considering them and really igniting back to them. And people that are feeling maybe unhappy, feeling disconnected, maybe you're on autopilot. Maybe you just feel like life is lacking a lot of flavor and zest, or you feel, like what's it all worth? And the dreams that I had are not for me. They're not being fulfilled, or I'm not worthy, or I'm not deserving of those dreams. And if you are feeling any of those ways, this webinar is for you, because what I'm here to say is that passions can really turn our life into feeling much more joyful and abundant. And it really leads us into feeling more, feeling into what else is possible. If this is possible, what else is possible? Versus all of the limitations that we may have developed along the way, or that we've been fed by society or well-meaning loved ones in our life. Passions can really reconnect you with what you deserve in your life and what can make you feel the most fulfilled in life. A little bit about me. I'm Christie Gause-Bemis. I am the co-owner of Hot Pink University and the co-author of Ignite Your Life. But I'm also a mama. I like to consider myself an artist. I love to paint and just create in any kind of way in life. I also love to write. It's one of my biggest passions is writing. A day without writing to me feels like, ugh, dull, yuck. And so that's what passions do for me, is they really fuel the rest of my day, the rest of my relationships. I also am a speaker. I've practiced as a psychotherapist in my life, and I love to coach women. I love to coach women, especially around reigniting their passions. So if you're interested in any of that, you can find what we do at Hot Pink University at www.hotpinkyou.com. And why are passions important, and how do we lose touch with them? And I really feel like everything I've said so far about passions, they can really make us feel happy and feel more fulfilled in life. They can really connect us with our life's purpose. We all know that we're here in this world for a reason, for a purpose. And what is your greatest purpose? And if you can connect that through a passion that you have, then that can be incredible. For many of us this evening, we were able to watch the latest CBS 60 Minutes episode. And if you were able to do that, it was really actually a beautiful tribute to passions in the end. They had Jane Goodall was on there along with Tom Mangelson, who's a photographer. And one of the quotes, paraphrasing what she had said, was that her passions, the gorillas, and writing about the gorillas and documenting the gorillas, carried out her purpose in life, which was to protect and be an environmentalist, right? And Tom Mangelson came on, and he's a photographer. And some of his work has changed how we look at different populations of animals that have been on the verge of being extinct or are endangered in any way. And so he's able to use his passions of photography to carry out what he really feels is his life purpose. And so if we can do that, if we can connect our passions with our purpose and what we do in life, whether that's in our career or whether our career just like pays the bills, but we do our passions outside of our career, it's really creating that greater purpose, that greater sense of why am I here, right? And so it creates the fuel that really drives our lives. That's how I want you to think about passion, is that it's this fuel that really creates forward movements in our lives. And that's a beautiful thing. Some of my passions, and I have many passions. One of them obviously is working with women to find their passions, which is so cool because I get to play in the arena of Hot Pink University through our retreats, travel, our coaching and our programs like Women on Fire. And I get to play with women around reigniting their passions. And so I know that it's made a difference for many, many of the women that I've worked with, either through my psychotherapy or my coaching practice, in how they're showing up in the world. And then that ripples out to their loved ones, but also the greater causes that they feel really passionate about in their lives. And now they're able to do them and carry them out. One of the women that we've recently coached is able to sponsor a family in India because of being reignited with her passions through travel with us with Hot Pink University, but also through her work of just creating more abundance in life. And how can she create money to not only support her own life, but then be able to support a family in India. For myself too, my family and we support a little 7-year-old boy in Guatemala because I carried out one of my passions, which was to travel with Guatemala with my daughter and share with her the experience of travel, which is on my list of passions, so that we can really expand what we do here in our community to be more of a global community. I also feel really passionate about art and writing, and I'll share some stories with you tonight around how I got disconnected from art and writing and what that felt like in my life. And then what was the turnaround for me and how I got reignited with art and with my writing, and why that's important, why it creates the fuel for me. So for you, it could be any of those things, but also family. I feel really passionate about my family, not to the detriment of my own self-care and my own pleasure in life, but at that happy balance where I really enjoy spending time with my family. And if there's ways that I can do that and still meet my needs, it's the best of both worlds. So passions can be all kinds of things. They can be creative endeavors, like I talked about with myself, art, writing, cooking. I love cooking. And when I can cook, for my family or my friends, it's a huge joy for me. Above my oven, I have, if you feed them, they will come. And so I love that when I put out good food for people. It's just a passion of mine. For others, it can be decorating or some kind of music. It can be physical, running, kayaking, hiking, any kind of passion that you might have in moving your body. It can be yoga and koya and different dance. Passions can also take us out of our lives. When I travel, it creates this surreal experience that's not my everyday life, but it's still a passion of mine to do that and then still be able to come home to my home base. Hobbies can make us, if we're working in perhaps a field that's maybe not as passion driven, but it's important work, hobbies can take us out of the doldrums of potentially what we'd spend our 8 hours on every day, and can put us to this new place of, but this is what I'm really passionate about. Like when I'm really living a heart-driven, heart-centered life, this is what I'm passionate about. And like I shared with Jane Goodall and Tom, is that they were really pursuing their passions in an inspiring way in order to, create awareness. And so passions can also be, activities that take us out of our everyday life. Passions can also be linked to our careers. I know I do that with Hot Pink University and with the psychotherapy work that I do. It definitely is very career driven, or has a career goal in mind of how I want to live my life and what is my greater purpose. I know that when I first moved to the Madison, Wisconsin area, I took a job that, though it fit many of my passions, it wasn't my passion. But I took the job in order to really move well and buy a home and be able to wait and sell our home. And sometimes you do things in life out of necessity. But I'll tell you what, when I was able to quit that job and just fully move into my work with Hot Pink University and other areas and things that I enjoy doing in my life, it was like a totally different perspective. My relationships are much more fulfilling. I'm spending more time in quality connections with those that I love. And I'm not feeling the fear of everyday life or anxiety. I'm sleeping better. My health is better. I am exercising more. I'm spending much more time out in nature. I'm reconnecting with art and writing in a whole new way in my life. And so that's what I'm talking about. When you can reignite with your passions, this is what is possible. Passions can also be relationship driven, where you want a deeper, maybe a more passionate relationship with somebody that you love, or you want to really reignite the spark that maybe was there in the beginning. And that's a perfect place to put passions, right? Because we can really fall back in love with somebody. We can be in love. Relationships with your children or friendships, that's a passion of yours, it can really drive some deeper, more enriching experiences in your life. Are you getting the picture that passions are important? I hope that you're getting the picture that your passions are super important. So in 1998, I was single again. I was married briefly, had my son, and the relationship, I spent so much time pouring all of my energy into kind of fixing all of the problems that were there in our relationship, because we just weren't connected to one another in any deeper way, right? And so I was pouring all of my energy into that relationship. And when that relationship ended and we had to say our goodbyes and depart ways, I really found myself with some time, because we shared time with my son. And I really recognized that I had left a lot of the friends along the way to make this relationship work. And I had left a lot of the things I was really passionate about in my life out of my life for a very long time. And so I had what I call this awakening. And it was like a light bulb going off, like, oh, I had passions. There were times in my life prior to this relationship where I felt passionate about some things. Art. I had originally gone to college as an art major. I switched out of that because I became intimidated and fearful that I wouldn't make enough money. There was always that message from people like, oh, you're an artist, you're not going to make money, right? So I switched out of that and I switched into something totally different. And I left art on the table. Like I was not painting anymore. I wasn't drawing. And it was really a passion of mine that healed a lot of places for me during my high school years. And I always say art in many ways like saved me as a young, really kind of troubled teen years, that we go through. Art really had saved me. And so I had this awakening then in my divorce of what are the things that fuel me and make me feel good, and art was one of them. And so I started painting again, and I started writing again, and I started a book club because I loved reading. As a kid, we lived out in the countryside, and we would get the library books sent to us. And so this is way before like computer anything. You would send a little postcard in the mail with some titles that you might like, and then they would the librarian there would pick out maybe 6 books, send them in like this Ziploc canvas bag, and they'd be in your mailbox. And then you'd read through all 6 of your books, and then you would zip the bag back up and send it back with your new list of requests. Maybe you wanted animal books, or maybe you wanted detective books, whatever. But I loved to read, and I hadn't been reading since I got into college, because you were just reading all the time for school, right? But what about your passions? And so I started a book club in 1998 and just invited some friends and family to attend. And they're still meeting today. It's called Changing Chapters Book Club. And I don't live in the same area anymore with those ladies, but it really filled my passion of gathering women and of reading really good books that maybe I wouldn't normally be introduced. So that's what I'm talking about. It begins, your passion seeking begins with some kind of an awakening. And maybe just seeing this webinar and you were like, that sounds super interesting. Maybe this is your awakening of what's possible, and permission, giving yourself permission to go out and seek what makes you feel passionate in whatever way you desire and are able to do. It's remembering a time maybe in your life where you felt passion. I shared with you that as a kid living in rural Wisconsin, I'd get these library books. And so it's remembering, when did I feel most excited in life? And honestly, it was when I would go out to the mailbox and there'd be all my books. And I just would be like, oh, what's in there? What's in that canvas bag? And eat them up. So awakening makes you feel alive, makes you feel open to what's possible, and makes you feel connected. The second phase of really passion seeking, at least in my mind, is visioning then, like what's possible. It's making lists. It's talking to other people that you know are living a passion-filled life, and what do they do? Like, what's their secrets, right? And it's getting inspiration of what's possible for yourself. For some people in this phase, they create a vision board, which is just pictures that you kind of go shopping in magazines around, and you don't edit yourself. You just cut out every single picture that makes you feel alive, come alive. It makes you feel excited. And then eventually, after the shopping of the magazine pictures are done, you put them out on a vision board. You might edit yourself then and start recognizing what's possible. And then the third phase really is around exploring, and it's trying some things out, and some things might work and some things might not. I've always wanted to be a stand-up comedian on Saturday Night Live. Like, that is like my truest dream of, wouldn't that be so cool if I could do that? So this last January, I kind of worked outside of my comfort zone in a big way, and I took a comedy class here in Madison. I discovered that comedy is a lot harder than what I thought it was, but at least I know that, right? And so the exploring phase is around trying some things out, and maybe not making a full 100% commitment towards something, but moving, like I didn't quit my job to do comedy, but maybe moving a little bit towards it by taking a class in something that, interests you, or maybe sponsoring a child, knowing that I want to make an impact on the world. And you might not be able to do everything the world needs, but you'd be able to do one piece that's closer to what the entire world needs, right? So it's about exploring. And then that last piece is intention, because what you pay attention to in your life and what you really commit to in your life grows. I know this for a fact. I see it happen all the time. What you intend on doing gets bigger and grows. And that's a beautiful thing around seeking your passions. And I talk to a lot of women, in the course of my work as either a psychotherapist or a mentor coach. And they often cite these things as, well, I would do that except time, money, and I'm just overwhelmed and I'm overbusy. And I'm here to say that's pretty much BS. I know it's a controversial thing, but it really is, because there is plenty of time. I want you to think about how much time you spent potentially on wasted time, like social media or internet surfing, or maybe watching mindless TV, or like, think about these things and how have you spent your time? Because I can tell you that when you intend on something and you really connect with your passion, there is enough time. You make the time. And that also is around the saying yes to the right things and saying no to the right things. Because when you start saying no, you start freeing up some of your time, and you start freeing up some of your energy around your time of what you want the universe to provide for you, right? And so I do believe time is a fairly relative, changeable thing that we can create or uncreate in our life. And that there are a lot of women out there that I work with that are in absolute overwhelm and busy beyond anything you could think of, by choice, by the choices that they make, and by some of the decisions, that they're making in their life. And so how can you, free up some of the time, free up some of your time to really start pursuing some of your passions? Now, money is a big thing. I want you to think about ways that maybe you overspent on some things, or any of the food in your fridge that you throw out. I want you to think about collectively the waste of any food that you throw out as a waste of your money. I want you to think of any clothes or items that you might have bought that you haven't even taken the sticker off, right? Or the price tag off. That's what I'm talking about. A lot of times when we are living outside of our passion, we're actually filling it with things by overspending on stuff to make us feel better. And what I can tell you is when you're living in your passions, you don't need nearly as much stuff to fill you up. You simply focus on, am I really in need of that? Or is that just mindless shopping that's making me feel better? Because when you're living in your passions, you don't need other things or money going into different directions to feel better. And it actually frees up that money to pursue some of your passions. It's really a curious thing. I actually have a blog talk program on all about money. It's a 2-part series. And I really encourage you to explore that because money also can be a pretty relative thing. I meet a lot of women who maybe say things like, I'd love to work with you and Anne, but I can't afford it, right? And then I watch them through social media or other means buy the top of the line shoes for their kids, or the 10th pair of jeans, or this huge family vacation at Disney World. And if they would have just tailored back a little bit, they could have unearthed some of that money. So I want you to think of some ways that maybe even you're giving money away to other people, thinking this is showing them love. And really, our society has cultivated a lot of, this is, if my parents really cared about me, they would. And I'm here to say, not so much, because really the greatest experience that you can give to kids, if you're raising kids, if you're making that choice to raise kids, is by living a really passion-filled life and by them watching you. It's an amazing thing. And it's well worth any of the money that you might spend. So let's talk about key number 1, and that's seeking inspiration, which really is around, we talk about that awakening and visioning phase that I just did on 2 slides over. Really that seeking inspiration is from others. So like today, just watching that 60 Minutes episode, I was like, God, these people are so inspiring. But I also was watching earlier in the episode 2 people that had opened orphanages for Syria, and I could feel that pull for myself, like, I want to get involved in something like that. That's your inspiration. And so key number 1 is seeking and listening to your inspiration, especially as women. We have a very large insula in our brain, and it's often more, it's firing more than men. It's our gut feeling. And so a lot of times our gut can be telling us what is inspiring, what is a passion of ours. And so if we just listen to our gut, it can be a really important compass to leading you to your passions, right? And so seeking inspiration from other people, seeking inspiration from our gut, but also seeking inspiration from an earlier version of you. Meaning, when were you happy? If you ever were happy in your life, what things lit you up as a kid? What things really made you come alive and feel alive in your life? So think on that too, because you can inspire yourself a little bit. Cheers. All right. Key number 2. This is a good one. Place daily reminders where you see it. So I mentioned the visioning board, right? When you were visioning in the different phases of reigniting your passion. So I mentioned the visioning board, but there's also a ritual that I do, which is I love dry erase boards. And I place my intentions on my dry erase boards all the time so that I can see them. Or if I'm really focusing on a word, like this year, my word is leap, I might write that on a dry erase board that I can see every single day. And so placing these daily reminders in places you're going to see them every day, in your car, on your commute, wherever they are, it's really an inspiring, beautiful thing. The child that we sponsor as a family is prominently displayed on our fridge. We remember him every time we're opening the fridge and taking out food for ourselves, of how little there is for other people, and so that's just one of our passions, like, that there's abundance for everybody, and not everybody has the same access to abundance as what we have. So it's just kind of that daily reminder. For me also, it was creating a space for my art. So it was clearing a space in our home where I can easily access all of my paints and canvases. I don't have to haul things out and put things back every night. I just go down there when the inspiration strikes. And so it's also that daily ability to access your passions. So for somebody saying that wants to learn a musical instrument, it's like leaving the guitar, the tuner, everything you need, all your books in one spot so you can really get to it and remind yourself every single day to have access to it. I love this key. Key number 3, developing rituals of connections to your passions. I have a lot of rituals that I do in my life, and I usually share them with the women that are working with us on Women on Fire so that they can start making them their own as well. One of my rituals is in the morning, every morning, doesn't fail, before I get out of bed, I place one hand on my heart and one hand either on my gut or on my yoni, and I really talk to myself around what do I want to feel today, and I allow the words to come into my headspace. So if I want to feel abundant, if I want to feel compassion, if I want to feel joy today, how am I going to make that creation happen in my life? And so that's one morning ritual. A night ritual, too, is this. Imagine that the last 45 minutes of what you did last night. I want you to imagine that. What was the last 45 minutes that you did? And so for me, last night was Saturday, so I watched Saturday Night Live, of course. And so I want you to think about the last 45 minutes, generally for people, gets repeated through REM sleep, through your REM cycles, up to 4, even 5 times in a night. And so if we're surfing on our computer screens or plugging into mindless TV or not enriching ourselves in some way that's connected directly to our passions, imagine that that's getting repeated like 4 or 5 times through our REM cycle. And so one of the rituals that I talk about at night, right before bed, is to spend some time in gratitude. Spend some time maybe meditating. Spend some time reading positive literature or listening to positive music. Because if it's going to get recycled and be that powerful in my life, then I want it to be something that's really important to me and sends me the right message, right? Another ritual that I often share with people that I work with is my Sunday reset ritual. So I wake up in the morning on Sunday, same thing, hand to heart and gut. How do I want to feel this week? And I spend some time in meditation. I light a candle, I burn sage, and I also pick a goddess card, and I really set my intentions on my dry erase board. It's my reset. And so if we're going to be developing rituals that connect us to our passion, these are just a few of the ones that I really love. And I hear people in new moon cycles, like we just had a pink moon last week on the 29th of April. What did you do to kind of surrender to this change in the moon phase? And what is a ritual that you could do around the moon phases, let's say, to connect you with your passions? It can be really powerful. Key number 4 is to surround yourself with passion drivers. These are other people that kind of get you and get your passion. And they're also people that encourage you. They're your cheerleaders. So one of the things that happens when you're getting reignited with your passions is it might create a little havoc for other people. Like, well, you're shifting and you're making changes, and now I need to make changes, and I'm not so sure I want to make those changes. It's making me feel uncomfortable. I want to share with you a little bit out of The Emergence of the Sensual Woman by Dr. Saida Desolé. She does a lot of the jade egg work practices, which is a total link to connecting you with your passions. I'll share a little bit more about that in the bonus number 7 and 8 after a little bit here. But I want to read from this in her book. In life, there are times when those we love will not understand who we are at a profound level we desire. Our very succulence may even be a threat to them. And we may feel a temptation to regress back to our old ways and shut down. Fear-based selves, afraid of not being loved. It is true that if we fully manifest our succulence, we may become unbearable to be near. I love that. It is true that if we fully manifest our succulence, we may become unbearable to be near. But this is only because our very aliveness enables others to see their own deadness, their own lack of living life fully. This revelation is felt when they can contact our aliveness, and this may threaten their very existence, or at least the existence of a fear-based ego. Naturally, it is too painful to see what is hidden, so instead of looking at what is revealed, their first instinct is to shut off our bright light source, our bright source of light that is shining upon their own wounds. So I want you to really reflect on that. Sometimes we need to surrender to others, let go, maybe even leave certain relationships if we really want to be living in our passions. And that's really hard for people to do because we all just want to be loved. We all just want to be held in the highest regard by those around us that love us. But as we're making changes and we're becoming more ignited in our passion, this is a possibility of what might happen. So those are beautiful words, again, from Dr. Saida Desilets' book, Around the Emergence of the Sensual Woman. So key number 5, weekly check-ins with yourself. Remember I said what we attend to grows? And I mean weekly, like weekly check-ins with where you're at in certain things. In one of our free gifts that we have given out to women called Naked to Adorned, which is all around kind of dismantling all of our limitations and then really adorning ourselves and holding ourselves up. I gave away a free worksheet on there. And literally on that worksheet is every circle within our own ecosystems. Your ecosystem is those people you interact with, the careers that you interact with. They're your hobbies, they're your health, they are your extended family, friends. That's your ecosystem, right? And so literally every single circle we check in once a week. And on that sheet are some of our intentions. What are our intentions? I also, want people to be looking at those every single week. But also there's a little heart on that worksheet, a little heart. And in the heart is pleasure. And how have we shown ourselves love this week? How have we shown ourselves pleasure? So these weekly check-ins around how are we showing up in our relationship. So I have one circle on there that's my son. And have I connected with him this week? Have I sent him a text message and just said, hey, how's it going? It's this reminder that's telling me check in with people. Don't be dead. Don't be just, in your own world, reaching out to those that are important to me, but also making sure that pleasure is part of the whole package as well for myself. And maybe if I'm noticing that I'm disconnected more from my passions this week, that weekly check-in really says to me, where am I putting my art, my writing, my walks in nature? Where am I putting those things on my to-do list? Because if they're at the bottom, forget about it. I'm not going to feel balanced or good about myself in life or connected in a great way. All right, this takes us to our last one, but not really, because I'm going to give you 2 bonuses. Put your passions on your to-do list as a priority. I just said that in the last slide, right? And I mean it. It is at the top of your to-do list. So you might have 10 things you want to get done today. And I want you to make sure that passion, something that is around your passions, is a priority. And I want you to bump that up to the top thing that you do. Passion is fuel. So if we're igniting our passions first thing in the morning, I usually write first thing in the morning. If I'm igniting that passion, it fuels the rest of what is on my to-do list that day. And it makes everything else I do feel much more enjoyable because I've taken the time to really ignite my passions that morning. And that's so important. So how do we keep this going? And how do we really reignite our passions? One of the things that I would like to invite you to consider is twice a year, Anna and I enroll in our Women on Fire program. And this is the work we do with women. We help women over the course of 6 months reignite their passions and their loved ones in their life flourish, Their careers feel more fulfilling. They maybe take big risks and leaps. And in fact, in month 4 of our 6-month program, it's kind of a mandatory to do that you have to take some kind of risk or big leap. And so for some of the women, it might be enrolling in a program that they love around maybe being a nutrition coach or a massage therapist. For other women, it could be doing some kind of public speaking of some kind. For other women, it could be travel or travel on their own. So it's been different things for lots of different women. And I just invite you to consider by going onto our website, and in our events page, you can see our Women on Fire program. And it just spells out what is the program all about. So I want you to consider that. If you're serious about reigniting with your passions, this program is absolutely a done for you program. 6 months, a tribe of amazing women that you have access to, coaching with both Anne and myself each month, 45 minutes to an hour each month with each of us. And then also a monthly check-in call with our whole tribe, all the women that we're working with, either in our Women on Fire program or the other offerings that we have. There's done for you modules each month with an audio and an e-playbook that you can just do at your own pace. It's an amazing thing. And we also offer 3 lifeline calls, which are, I need somebody to talk to in 24 hours, and we're there. We also have bonuses like discounts on our travel. I have a business stiletto camp that I run. So if you're an entrepreneurial woman and that's something that you're seeking, is to connect your passions with your work, I'm here for you. This is the work that I do and that I feel passionate about doing. You also are our invited guest to Camp Wow, and you can be featured in our tribe. Some of the women that we've worked with have put on workshops, been on our newsletter, a guest on our blog talk radio. We know, Anne and I know, that by pulling women up, by building women up, and by showing the world the best you that possibly can be you, you inspire other women by sparking them. So these bonuses alone, just the bonuses that I have listed on the bottom there, alone are worth over $1,500. And the program itself is $2,500 for the 6 months. And we also have monthly payments available. Obviously, there's a discount when you just pay it all in full, but we do have a monthly payment plan as well. So I invite you to consider that. And I'm going to give you this little webinar special that if you sign up by watching this webinar and you reference that, we will give you $100 off of your program. Sound amazing? We hope that you would consider joining us. It really is an amazing thing, and we've seen some amazing transformation with all of the women that we've worked with in some capacity or way. So here's your bonus. I told you, stay to the end and you get your bonus keys. These are really hot and juicy, so they're especially for you, dear woman. This is what I know. I couldn't figure this out. I had heard women talk about this. I heard Dr. Saida Desolé talk about it. I've heard Pamela Madsen talk about it, 2 women that were in our Brave Woman Summit that we just really feel inspired by. That when you are connected with your yoni, with your pussy, with your vagina as a woman, and you are in your body, that you are living your passion. And I couldn't get that because as a woman that's gone through menopause, there's a huge disconnect. You know, there's definitely a lack of libido. There's definitely a lack of drive that happens. And there's this whole disconnect. And a lot of the women that I've worked with over the years have had trauma in that area. And so there's totally a disconnect with that. Or some women are living in relationships where there's no connection with that, right? Maybe they've been married 15 years and the fire has been put out. And here's what I know. When you do work to be back in your body, whatever that might be, jade egg or have some kind of retreat experience with Pamela Madsen's Back to the Body or any of those things where you do meditation or you just really reignite with your yoni and you really trust it, that is a sacral chakra energy area. And it really is our power and it drives our passions. So when we disconnect our lives from the waist down, we lose all like feeling from the waist down. We really extinguish something that is a huge energy center for us. So whatever the work might be for you, I hope that you get back into your body through doing some kind of work around that, because it's a huge power fueling thing that fuels and makes our passions even more alive in our life. And the other one, the last one, number 8, your bonus keys tonight, is connecting your passions with what is the desired feeling. A lot of times we can get hung up on, but I want that passion to go, whatever that might be. And what we lose touch with is we're so driven for whatever that vision is of our passion, and that has to play out and the outcome has to look exactly like this. And what I'm here to tell you is that when you can release the outcome, that it has to be exactly like this in order for me to feel passion in my life, when you can release from that and you can say, but this is how I want to feel, it's so much more powerful, and your passions are really driven in a better way. So let's say I leave my job, and which I did, and I want greater freedom in my life. I'm not sure how that will play out. I've had a couple things with Hot Pink University. I've had a couple freelance things. I might write some articles that I get paid for. I might not know how that exactly plays out, but what I'm seeking is the feeling of freedom. And so every choice that I make is a yes to freedom or a no to any kind of fork in the road that might put me in a place where I'm not feeling freedom. So if we can connect the passion with, but what if I do that passion? What is the desired feeling that I want? It's so much more useful of taking the various forks in the road that might come up or not getting attached to the exact outcome. And then I'm not feeling passion in my life, or I'm not feeling connected to my passion. So just consider that. It's just a beautiful thing. And so again, I invite you to enroll if you're feeling called. I invite you to come on to a free 30-minute call with me. I think that was on this slide, where you can claim your free 30-minute Ignite Your Life session with me. Whether you enroll or not is not a big deal. I want to talk to as many women as possible, because by talking to you, I'm fueling my passion. So take me up on that offer of 30 minutes, being able to talk to me, a psychotherapist, a life coach, like that's a big thing. So take me up on that by going on to either emailing me, hotpinku@gmail.com, or you can go on to our Woman on Fire program on our website, and there's an actual button there with my personal calendar. I invite you to take a look at that and hop on a 30-minute call with me, and let's really reignite your passions and what makes you feel on purpose in life, right? And so I want to say thank you. Thank you. I honor you for showing up tonight and being in service of yourself and in service of what fuels you and what makes you feel passion in life. I really hope that our paths cross and that I hear back from you that you've used some of these keys in your own life to make your life that much fuller, that much richer, and that much more filled with passion.